Follow up on John Dent. Number one, he mentioned the Tommy Edman thing, and I've underplayed that, not because I'm trying to, because, again, we've been down Moulder Road before, and by now people should understand the reference. You go down that road, and you get lost and get confused because you're told, this guy's going to be pitching again next week. He's fine. What are all you media people worried about?
It starts next week. I can hear it already.
So you go down Moulder Road,
yes,
named in honor of Mark Mulder, Walt Jackety, who I love dearly and respect to the most. It's like, Walt, I'm probably embellishing it a little. I don't mean to, but I would ask him about, well, how's Moulder coming along? Because he had that shoulder issue, and he'd be like, he's coming along good, and we think he's going to start throwing in 2 weeks, and get him out to the minor leagues, and he'll get to build his endurance up, and we think we'll have maybe about a month, 6 weeks from now. Oh, that's so Bernie says, oh, that's good. That's good to hear. Oh yeah, we're really encouraged.
Oh man.
And those updates, every single one was like that. So we kept going. I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
Kept going down Moulder Road. Just kept driving down Moulder Road. Just kept thinking, well, he's got to be down here somewhere. I was throwing on a diamond somewhere, getting ready. Just kept driving on Moulder Road to the point of no return, and that's pretty much what happened to Moulder. Right?
It really was. It was a shame because he could have been.
He would have been good.
He would have been really good.
He did. He came back and he just had nothing. The poor guy had nothing. I mean, it just was a shame. He was done, and he only made a few starts. It didn't make many starts. He was done.
He had one start on a Saturday afternoon against Roger Clemens and the Astros, and he was like lights out. And I got to interview him once more than a few years ago now, and I asked him, I said, do you remember this start? He goes, yeah, he remembered it vividly, and he said it was one of the most memorable games he pitched because it was a Saturday afternoon, early April. He was in his Cardinal uniform, and he outpitched Clemens on that day, and that was it. That was like the one shiny moment he had, and it's a shame because he was. I mean, when he was in the right, man, he was really good with Oakland.
He had one full season with the Cardinals. They made that trade after the 2004 season because they correctly perceived that they had some pitchers breaking down, pitchers getting a little worn out, and they just had to freshen it up. And listen. As it turned out, they gave up Dan Herron in the trade for Moulder, and so it didn't work out because Moulder broke down. But if Moulder had not broken down, I don't think anyone would have fussed about Dan Herron. But in 2005, he was only 27 years old. Moulder, he threw 205 innings. He had a 3.64 ERA, which was in line with the times then.
Yep.
He was 16-8 that season, and the strikeout rate. Maybe this was an alarm. Well, maybe not really. A little bit. The strikeout rate was down. Maybe that was a warning sign. And then it just all kind of came undone in 2006. And I just want to call this up real quick. I didn't mean to get on a Moulder thing, but he is an interesting guy.
Yeah.
As far as a really huge Cardinals trade at the time. And he could have been their ace. Right there with they would have had two aces.
Right.
Him and Chris Carpenter. And then after a while, they didn't have either one of them because Carpenter blew out his elbow the first start of 2007, and Moulder didn't pitch in 2007, or I'll double check that. But you look at Moulder that year, and it just started bad. I mean, it just started bad. It just started bad. It just continued to get bad. He went. I mean, I don't even know how to tell. It was just horrible. Like he made about 15, 16 starts. He had a 6.01 ERA, and it was just batting practice, and that was before they shut him down, and maybe they should have shut him down earlier in retrospect. So in 2007, he did get back. He got back in September. So, you want to wonder why the Cardinals were not good in 2007. People want to blame, the manager. They want to blame, Jocketty or whatever, blame the media, whatever. Well, you look at how good Moulder was in 2005. You look how good, you look at how huge, Chris Carpenter was for them in 2006. You don't have either one of those guys in 2007. So Moulder tried to come back in September of 2007. His first start, I was sitting there, home game against Pittsburgh, 4 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. Then he came back 6 days later at Cincinnati, 4 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 2 home runs, 7 earned runs. And then the final start was against the Cubs at Busch Stadium. 3 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 4 earned runs. 12.27 ERA.
Boy.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Because imagine what he could have been or what that rotation would have been like. But they didn't have Carpenter and they didn't have Moulder. And they were the guys, the anchors of that planned rotation, Now, the only thing I'll say about this, I think the Oakland front office was less than honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Moulder was damaged goods when he got here. Not to the point where he couldn't pitch. Not to the point where he was hiding some glaring injury. But you can just tell right away, there were some things in his trend line where you could just see some of the key numbers going the wrong way. And I wonder whether the A's were forthcoming. Now, on the other hand, you have players who get traded have to pass a physical. So I don't know how thorough the Cardinals' physical was when they reviewed Mark Mulder. But that was a damn shame, man. That was really a damn shame because he came back one more time in 2008 and he pitched in relief. Now, he made 1 start. Inning and 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, and that was it. So after making 32 starts for the Cardinals in 2005, the next 3 seasons he only made 21 starts. And the next 3 seasons in those 21 starts, he had a 7.73 ERA because he was hurt.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is, and ever since that trade, I always say, don't ever take a pitcher from Oakland. Not only that, but there have been so many others that as soon as they leave out of there, all of a sudden there's all kinds of issues that come up. And there's so many of them over the course of their recent 15 to 20-year history. I'd stay away from them.
Fortunately, the Cardinals in 2007, without Chris Carpenter, without Mark Mulder, there was a second-year pitcher at age 25 who was moved from the bullpen to the rotation, which was the plan. Because La Russa and Duncan like to break rookie pitchers in by, putting him in relief for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Wainwright, so at age 25, made 32 starts for the Cardinals, and you look back on that now, he looked really good. Again, wasn't a big strikeout guy. He never really was a huge strikeout guy in his career because that was a different time and place. But he did fine. He really did fine when I tell you what some of the other guys did. He had a 3.7 ERA, but he pitched 202 innings and won 14 games for a bad team. A team that was 78 and 84, right?
It was a rough year.
It was a really rough year. And you look at the other guys in that rotation. Again, I got to say it again. This rotation was supposed to have Chris Carpenter and Mark Mulder. I move Wainwright to the side because he was a shining light that season. You had good old Kip Wells. 20 26 starts, a 5.7 ERA.
One of the few guys that not even Dave Duncan could fix.
After the big triumph in Game 1 of the 2006 World Series, Anthony Reyes, don't confuse him with Alex Reyes, different dude. Anthony Reyes, who really played a huge role in the Cardinals winning that World Series. He really, truly did. He outpitched Justin Verlander in Game 1 at Detroit. Anthony Reyes in 22 starts for the Cardinals. They were like, well, we saw what he can do. We're looking forward to it. Well, no. 20 starts, a 6.04 ERA.
That was rough.
You have Braden Looper with 30 starts, had an ERA of just under 5. Brad Thompson was okay, 4.75 ERA. Joel Pinheiro was not bad, 11 starts, 3.96. But the point is, they had Todd Wellmeyer starting games. Remember that?
Yes, good old Todd Wellmeyer.
And one of my favorites, Jocketty was so, and I don't blame him for being desperate. I really, he was trying. He was just trying to find a solution. So he goes and gets, because I think he was designated for assignment, he goes and gets his left-hander from Detroit, Mike Maroth.
Yes.
Remember him?
I do.
And believe it or not, hey man, I'm gonna confess. Believe it or not, when he made that move, I'll never forget writing about it and basically being positive about the trade. I said, well, this guy just needs a change in scenery and this and that and this and that. I'm smarter now than I was then. I was doing the best I could, but I wasn't fully developed in terms of really how you evaluate pitchers. My goodness, he was awful. He was a really good dude, but he was really awful for your St. Louis Cardinals, and he was pretty awful from the very beginning, although his second start he made for them was pretty good. It was real, well, it's all relative, but he went 5 innings, gave up a run. And I'm saying, well, I knew he'd be fine. No, he was not fine. You know what his ERA was as a Cardinals starting pitcher? He made he made 6 starts and then he yanked them, and then he made 7 other appearances in relief. So he pitched for them 13 times, 30 and 2/3 innings. Had a nice dandy 12.91 ERA.
It was painful. Right? And I was with you. I was like you at that time. I go, well, again, the Dave Duncan factor will help get this guy to be serviceable. And there was one game, I think it was in Pittsburgh, Bernie. He came on in relief, and Tony was like, I need a guy to get me out of this. It was one of those blowout games. And he couldn't get 3 outs to get out of the inning, and Tony had to go get him. And then it was just one of those, you go, wow, it's that bad for Mike. And like you said, he seemed to be a nice guy, but he couldn't get out of an inning in a mop-up game, and he had to get relieved, and that was the telltale sign of there's nothing left with him.
Kip Wells, I thought at the time, and by the way, I'm not even going to say I was wrong in what I thought at the time when they signed him, because they really needed starting pitching. And Kip Wells was always viewed as a guy that had really good stuff but couldn't put things together. So who was better to handle that type of situation than Dave Duncan, right? Because we saw him do it time and time and time and time again. And, Kip Wells broke into the major leagues at age 22. By the time he got to St. Louis, he was 30, and maybe that should have told us something.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on the scrap heap, but my point is he was the White Sox, he was the Pirates, he was with Texas, the St. Louis. As the Cardinals said, get him out of here. Colorado, Kansas City, Washington, Cincinnati. Everywhere he went, because he was talented, everywhere he went, he exasperated the manager. He frustrated the hell out of the pitching coach. His teammates couldn't stand him. He wasn't like a loud, undisciplined guy. He wasn't obnoxious. He wasn't a bad guy. There was something about him that just annoyed the hell out of everybody because he was kind of smug. He was kind of condescending. He sounded like a know-it-all, even though he spoke in a calm, rational voice. Whenever he was bad, he seemed to have a hard time just saying,
I'm bad.
I was horrible tonight. It's
Right.
as simple as that. I don't know what else to say. I've stunk lately. No, he can never bring himself to say that. I asked Dave Duncan, one of my favorite people ever in Cardinals baseball. He should be in the Cardinals Hall of Fame at some point, I hope.
Yes.
I said, Dunk, I ain't blaming you, because if you can't fix Kip Wells, nobody can. Nobody has, nobody will. Not even you. And he looked at me and he laughed, and then he started with Kip Wells. And all I remember is a very choice, very effective stream of profanity. A lot of bad words. Right?
Yeah.
Well, what was wrong with him, Dunk? What was wrong with him? Bleepy this, bleepity that. Just me. I think Kip Wells frustrated Dave Duncan maybe more than any pitcher that Dave Duncan tried to turn around.
Wow.
I really do. I really do. Some guys are just a lost cause.
Yes.
I remember, and I was fired up about this because he was a former Baltimore Oriole, not when I was there, because I was in St. Louis by then, long time. But Sidney Ponson was great for the Orioles, and then he just sort of went downhill, and La Russa and Duncan were so excited about Walt. It's like, you got to go down there and get him, And I forget, I think he was from Aruba, but don't hold me to that. And I thought, this will be the next Sidney. This will be the next great Duncan turnaround, and this was even before Kip Wells, I believe.
Yes.
But Ponson was a lost cause. He was kind of a con man. He was from Aruba. By then, he was kind of a con man because he would get out of shape, and he stayed out of shape, and he's telling everybody he's, this off season I'm training and I'm doing this, and he told the Cardinals that. But he showed up. Actually, they signed him before the 2006 season. So think about that. He could have been in the World Series or whatever.
Right.
They did not give him much time because they could tell he just didn't work hard. He didn't give a damn. And they got him out of there after 13 starts. He had a 5.24 ERA. It's just lost cause.
Yep.
But I don't even think Duncan was all that fed up, nowhere near as fed up as he was with Kip Wells.
That's the worst one. And my goodness, think of all the guys that he was just, speaking of Dave Duncan, he just was said, here, fix them. Please fix them. Here, bring them in, fix them. We got another one for you, fix them. And he was great at it, but time again, there was an asset that was probably, I think they appreciated it, but probably never enough. As good as
they gave him another one before the 2003 season. A guy that had pitched a lot of innings for Cincinnati and Seattle, and even 204 innings the season before for the San Diego Padres. So you look at the Cardinals, they thought, well, back-end starter, give you a lot of innings, doesn't walk all that many. Dunk will get him straight. No, Brett Tomko did not get him straight. He started 32 games for the Cardinals, who were an also-ran in 2003. 32 games, 5.28 ERA. Dunk was another guy that frustrated the hell out of Dunk.
You're right. I'm shaking my head, but yeah. And the thing about the guys we're talking about here, they all have in common they went elsewhere and they weren't worth a darn.
They weren't.
It really is. If Dunk can't fix you, you can't be fixed.
I'm looking at Sidney Ponson here in a photo of him, and the dude's got a double chin.
He did.
I mean, he was really, really good for a while.
He was,
but maybe a little overrated. Now that we can look back on it. So anyway, I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about now. Where I wanted to go. No, the Tommy Edman thing is kind of like Moulder Road, I fear.
Yes,
that it's Moulder Road. So. In that context, Dylan Carlson becomes a really important guy at camp. If there's any view that Tommy Edman's not going to be ready or they don't want to push it, and if they're dumb about injuries, they'll push it, and Tommy Edman will say, even if that wrist is literally severed, we'll say, "Oh, I'm fine. No, I'm ready to go, Skip. Let me go get out there." No, and it's no big deal. It's just, it's no big deal. No, I'm good. I'm good to go. Well, we got a double header. No, I play too. I'm playing too. Let me go. We're fine. So if the Cardinals are smart, they won't let it really get worse. But we can't always trust them to be smart in these matters. But Dylan Carlson, he may get his chance. He may be able to show that he can be a valuable presence on the St. Louis Cardinals roster. And you notice what I didn't do there for people who are laughing and saying, "Oh, there he goes again." No. You didn't hear me say, "I'm confident that he's going to be this." I'm not saying that. I'm saying if Edman's got a screwed up wrist and they mishandle it or whatever, and they're going to need something going in center field, Dylan Carlson will have an opportunity that, frankly, he kind of whizzed away, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was supposed to be their center fielder for years and years and years, and he blew it. But he might have a chance to just kind of reclaim his career. That's all I'm saying. Well, he may have a chance, not because he's earned it, but because they may need him. And what better opportunity that would be for him. And then, this might get Victor Scott to the big leagues sooner than expected. So, I'd be watching Carlson down there. I'd be watching. Do we need to take a break?
No, we're good. We can keep it here. We're good.
I'd be watching Victor Scott. Those two guys I think are really big in that training camp, and people are going to say, "Well, Mason went." No, I slightly disagree with John Denton because I talked to Mo about this. I talked to Ollie about this just by myself, not in a media scrum or anything. And like I've said on the radio many times on this show, they're 100% committed to Mason Wynn. They believe he's going to be special. They think his defense is going to be spectacular, and they saw how much he learned in his second month in the big leagues. They are really, really excited. A lot of it has to do with his maturity and his makeup. Like, he is a take-care-of-business guy. He's a nonstop guy. He's not a powder or a sulker. He fixes it. He says, how do I get better? This stinks. What do I do? And he gets to work on it. And he's a good – it's amazing to say this about a 21, 22-year-old player, but he is a positive impact on other players. Because the way he goes about his business. And he's something else in terms of that. The personality, the attitude, the intensity, the professionalism. He's way advanced beyond his years. So all y'all out there, he's only hitting, 240 in spring training. They ain't going to bring him up. It's his job. It would have to be something catastrophic for him not to be in St. Louis or with the Cardinals on opening day.
I'm with you on that.
100%. They are 100% committed to him.
Yep.
Because after all the stuff that went on with that team last year, here's this kid comes up and acts like he's one of the most mature professional adults in the place. Yep. And veteran players are looking at him. Damn, this guy gets after it. I like him. This is what we need more of. So when we talk about clubhouse issues or whatever, he's a guy that can actually make that clubhouse better. I have no doubt.
That is one of my least concerns, is that position, unless he gets hurt. If he gets hurt, then I'm going to have a concern. But the other position we're talking about is my biggest concern on the baseball team for me.
Center field?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sold that Tommy Edman will be an 500 at-bat center fielder for this team because he can't go through the wear and tear of 500 at bats playing center field. You and I talk how
I agree with you.
They don't give him when he played shortstop. They never gave him enough days off, and then all of a sudden he get worn down, and he's got center field is going to be the same issue, and they can't do that to him because they'll end up going, well, that ain't working. We need another center fielder. I just don't see that as the right fit, and that's my biggest concern. If Carlson can do it and come out of the fog, great. But I'm not sold he can do it either. So it might be.
Oh, no. Well, no one should be sold. That should be a universally held opinion.
Yeah.
He's going to have to prove it, show it, and prove it, and show it some more, and prove it and show it some more.
I mean, the reality for me, real quick, is Nootbaar's in center and Donovan's in left. That's where I fix this problem. But
and by the way, I don't fully believe that Donovan's. Oh no, he's
that
great.
Too.
I'm not going to assume that. I'm going to have to see it. By the way, one thing I noticed about Tommy Edman, all we can go on are projections at this time, because they haven't played any games. I noticed the projections for him are down, and so whether it's Clay Davenport, whether it's Pacoda, whether it's Zips, but I have to go double check Zips, but Pacoda and Clay Davenport. I looked up Clay Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
The projection for him, a 250 average, only a 313 on base percentage, and a 387 slug, and he would be he'd be a 2-win player as far as wins above replacement, about 2.4. That's okay, but I know they would be hoping for more.
Right.
So no, but he'll run himself into walls. He'll go diving for balls he really can't catch. And God bless him because he gives his all. He's incredibly intense competitor. His heart's in the right place. You admire him, but you also know sometimes you just have to. You can't punish your body for no reason. You can't do it for lost causes.
Agreed.